Greetings, I'm Robin, and this is my book club. It's episode 27, and this week it's Andreas Feininger and Kate Simon's New York. Published in 1964, I bought this off of eBay a couple of weeks ago for about £6 posted. And boy, was I glad that I did. I've got a couple of other books of his photographs, 2 or 3 I think, and obviously a prolific photographer and writer. And I'll link an amazing video on YouTube, which is a documentary the BBC made back in the early 1980s, which is the episode with him is unbelievable. I'll link that down below, and you should definitely watch that if you're interested in his work. If you enjoy this sort of content from me, then, give us a like and a subscribe, and I'll be very happy indeed. I don't spend an awful lot of time worrying or thinking about the channel as such, but, heading along towards 500 subscribers, and that's quite exciting. Well, certainly for me, anyway. Right, what do we know about Feininger? Well, he's an amazing photographer. He was born in Paris in 1906. He died in New York in 1999. This book is quite unusual. I think we touched upon it by saying Andreas Feininger and Kate Simon. Well, what's that all about? Well, Feininger, as you may have suspected, is responsible for the photographs, and Kate Simon has written an amazing sort of series of essays, really kind of going into some detail in New York. The introductory essay about the history of New York in particular is absolutely amazing. Really, really amazing. The fact that this book has an inscription, that kind of always makes me feel sad that people have, either given away a book or donated it to charity or died, but at least the book kind of has just not been put in the bin. This one says, "To Muriel from Marjorie, Christmas 1967, happy memories." And for many people, the purpose of a book like this would be a book of memories. And for many others, it would be to travel to somewhere that they haven't been to before. We know that there weren't very many photo books, certainly back in the 1960s. So what is the purpose of this book? The clue is the fact that we have so many sort of photographic era maps and illustrations included at the start there, and the wonderful essays which I've spoken about. So is this a photography book disguised as a history book or a guide book? Allow me to share from the introduction. New York has always been an unbelievable place. It grew palm trees and sheltered unicorns, according to early brochures, and spoke over a dozen languages almost at birth. It has always suffered from chronic gigantism and possibly a touch of the sea-guarded craziness that infects islands. Like a great work of art, it is tainted by the terrible. It will hardly recognise human limitations and leaps off normal scales. It threatens and strains to impossible shores and is profoundly absurd. The essay on the history of New York talks about a city swelling in population fivefold in less than a century, from 5 to 25,000, and then again to 1.5 million, and then again in less than a century to 8 million. The city like this must develop an addiction to change. It is our close companion and the air we breathe, not smooth change or subtle, but angular, jolting turns for which we keep our antennae poised and our alertness sharpened, ready as polo ponies. The essays talk a lot about the poverty and the problems and the riches and the glamour, and New York is a city of contrasts, isn't it? Feininger himself is unashamedly interested in photography itself, photography as photography, and how it reveals a different truth to that of our eyes. You can expect his trademark use of very long focal lengths and consider his crops and sequencing. These are great topics to look at and to apply to your own photography. Now, this was a first look through, actually, for me. The recording here, I hadn't looked through the book at all, I hadn't opened it, and it just absolutely captivated. As you can tell, this is one of the slightly longer videos that I've made, and it's because I just fell in love with the work as I was looking at it. Here we see Feininger's sort of, very typical, very long focal lengths to compress things and to show things as they are, not as we would see them with our sort of wide-angle vision that we have, or our quasi-wide-angle vision that we have. So yeah, he loves to play with perspective and focal lengths and to give us unusual views. But then there's some beautiful colour photography in this book, and we see some street photography, such as this boy here. I mean, that, is street photography for me of the finest type. Could be up there with all the heroes of that particular genre that we like. But yeah, it's just, for me, page after page of amazing photographs of just one of the most incredible cities on the planet, and you can absolutely expect me to feature more by Feininger in the near future. And this particular picture, very poignant for me, because I live in Southampton, which is where the ocean-going cruise liners go to New York from. So these ships, these Cunard vessels, would have sailed from Southampton to New York, and one day, goodness me, wouldn't it be good to do that voyage? What a way to arrive in New York.